And I will tell you right now, this is the darkest show I've ever been a part of in my life.
Not on the silent ship, baby. Gags abound.
It's so beautiful. Dama never gets any Cylon.
Season 5, Eddie, season 5. I've heard it on good authority. Adama in a hot tub with, isn't it? No.
With Chief Tiro.
With David
Actually, I've just been...
Haven't you seen Brokeback Galactica yet? I can't quit you.
On that note, I've just been given a note actually that says that the clip was a little weird or offy, so they're gonna re-air it. Try again.
Why don't you just let them see the first episode?
You can see by the omission that the chief dies in episode 2.
Now I want to ask James about that shot that we just saw involving Trisha Helfer. It looks like number 6 gets a bullet to the brain at some point. You know anything about that?
Yeah, not number 6.
She was asking for
One of the versions.
Captain 6. Yeah. Yes.
There's lots of Cylons, lots of models.
Yeah, there's a few models.
Right.
Yeah.
So Lucy, you want to talk a little bit about what is life like on the Cylon ship?
Well, the other day,
It's strange.
Oh, how do you know?
Oh, because I'm abducted by the Cylons.
Yeah, right.
yeah, that's why he sleeps in a 4-person bed with 2 of them. Abducted.
I didn't say why I was abducted by the Cylons. I was.
James is in a glowing spine sandwich for the duration of the first part.
Hey, it's a tough job, but somebody has to do it. So yeah, I actually end up on the Cylon spaceship, and
Wait ship.
try and work out what is the philosophy, the relationships, the things that is going down on this kind of ship. And I must say that for everything that Baltar thinks that he understands, there's nearly always something that he confronts that is out of the welkin of his perspective. So he's, it's like a kind of a mystery. He's constantly trying to find out.
He's a shifty little worm, this guy is Baltar. Well, it's part of his appeal. But it's also that in space you've got to be really careful. You can't throw out any relationship or any bit of organic matter because all those things are very hard to come by. So he's always keeping irons in every fire.
What?
Lucy, with your character or your model of Cylon, what are we going to be? Can you tell us what we're going to be seeing from her this season? She's pretty tough.
No nips? There is nudity because you see Cylons are not very personal about their bodies. They're not really uptight. They haven't attached some sort of morality to nudity and sexuality and all that stuff. And they're extremely experimental. And
Basically, they like to walk around naked, the Cylons. This is something that Baltar discovers, and then something that Baltar tries to mimic, but he's not as good at it, unfortunately.
And Leoman's having none of it.
Oh no, thank God.
All I can tell you is that there's a lot of visual effects involved.
Aaron, for your character,
Yes.
he in the very end of the season finale, it looks like A, he's some kind of union organizer, and B, he might be coming be becoming a father. Is that heading in the right direction?
Yes.
So
He thinks he's the father.
What do we do?
The next spin-off is Callie and the Commander. You've been shown the red card.
So what is Chief going to be up to in the new season? Can you give us a hint?
Changing diapers. The chief is fighting the Cylons, surprisingly, and fixing things. I tell you, it's just good writing.
Thank you for that stumped answer. Has he gotten over his trauma from last season, or are we still going to see him kind of
And what trauma are you referring to?
when he?
When her batteries fell out and she went to sleep? Yes. Yeah, no, I make sure that Callie is plugged in at all times.
So, David.
We're not really answering anything, are we?
That's fine.
It's just nice to see you all. Very nice.
David and or Ron, either of you. I saw you in New York when you were speaking at a panel similar to this, and you talked about that scene in the finale where you basically jumped ahead in time a year inside of one scene. And it was really interesting to hear at the time. I was wondering if you could share it with the people here, how you decided to sort of orchestrate that scene.
Works with a bottle of single malt scotch, as they all do. The idea of jumping ahead a year in the narrative has been something that I've been thinking about for a while. Actually, it was something that I was thinking about on another show they did for HBO called Carnival. And, oh, yeah, they do exist. As we were approaching the end of season 2, a couple of things were staring us in the face in terms of what we had established in the show and what we wanted to do. We knew that there was going to be a presidential election, and we knew that we wanted Baltar to win that election. Now the question was, well, what's the election about? You know, you had to have some substance to it. So there had been an idea kicking around the writers' room for a while about, well, what if they find another planet and that becomes an alternate place to stay as opposed to continuing on to Earth? And that seemed like a really interesting campaign issue. That seemed like, well, if Baltar seizes on that, is, well, let's stay here and settle and give up the idea for Earth. That was a legitimate sort of like thing to pivot the whole election around. And then sort of following that chain of thought, it was, well, okay, if Baltar wins and they settle on this planet, if they get down there and they're only there a week and the Cylons show up, the whole thing kind of feels like a jerk-off. They didn't really go anywhere and didn't really meet anything. What's the point of that? And you say, well, how long do they have to be down there for it to have meaning, for them to settle in? And you start saying, well, a few months, okay, maybe a year. And then you quickly start saying, well, a year without the Cylons, you know, that's not Battlestar Galactica. You know, the show is not really going to be a planet-based show where you just watch them intense week after week struggling to form this colony. And then I sort of remember this notion about, well, what if we jump ahead a year in the narrative? What if we just take the leap, we take the audience by surprise and we leap ahead of you? And I think at first we were talking about it being the end of the season.
You know, the
right?
season, we start season 3 with 1 year later, and that sounded really good for about a month, and then we decided, gee, that's sort of chicken shit, why don't we try to do it within the episode? And so we ended Act 3, and we came back in Act 4 very dramatically with the banner 1 year later. We all sat there in the editing room looking at it, and we said, this feels like a joke. No one's going to take this seriously, or it's a dream sequence or something. So the real challenge became, could we do it within the context of the scene? Could you literally have a transition within the episode itself without cutting a commercial and sell that and make that work? And it was actually great because James, and I don't know if Michael Reinberg, the director, planned it this way, but James takes a big drag off his cigarette, and the camera kind of cuts wide, he throws his arm back and exhales.
What's his head?
Yeah,
4 months later, the occupation is in full swing. Baltar is still the titular president under a sort of an occupation government. There's an insurgency that is formed on New Caprica. The Galactica is off somewhere else, plotting, figuring out, struggling with the idea of how